really from the beginning. Did not play our best, tonight. Got to give Duquesne a ton of credit. I thought their offense was, very good throughout the game. Really, they moved us around. They forced us to guard for longer stretches. They took their chances in transition when they had them. And we had way too many defensive errors, even in the first half, to be able to win a game like that. Offensively, obviously we struggled, in that first half. We're getting way too deep into our clock, and not leaving ourselves enough time to be able to execute. I think we passed up some shots. I think throughout the game, we passed up some shots that we've got to go for in a game like that, which was disappointing because you can overpass at times. And then, I think they made the plays they needed to make. I mean, they made their threes, they got offensive rebounds, they made their free throws, they made timely shots, when we were getting it tight. Even when we took the lead in the second half, they came back and answered again. And so it was just their night all around. Not really much else to say other than that.
The guys said they only knew this morning that you weren't going to have Max. How difficult is it to adjust on the fly, missing such a big piece?
Yeah, we had to wait. Obviously the coaches knew that it was a possibility, and he didn't practice, the day before, so we knew certainly it was a possibility that he wasn't going to be ready, and it is what it is. It's part of the season. It's part of injuries that you have to be able to deal with, and not the timing that any of us wanted. You can't control timing like that. He got bumped in the Richmond game in the first half, and continued to play. That's why you saw him continuing to run back to the bike and go back to whenever he came out of the game to go see Jay Wall. It wasn't himself. That's not an excuse, certainly for Richmond. Please don't take it that way. But he played through it, and he was able to kind of play on offense, but not really on defense. And certainly that's not what we needed in this game. We needed to make sure that he's 100% or as close as we can get him to by Brooklyn.
Can you walk us through maybe a little bit of what the injury is, if you know, and then maybe it's
it's just back spasms. Yeah, it's kind of similar to Zeb's. He actually had it. That's why he missed the Mars Hill game, like way back. He got hit in our scrimmage and then missed the Mars Hill and then played the next game, I think. Yeah, he definitely played the next game. But, we'll see. We'll see kind of how it shakes out.
And then you have to deal with Fat's injury.
Yeah, Fats goes down and makes a play, makes a great play, and steals it and gets a layup, and then, unfortunately he, twists his ankle there or whatever happened. So we'll have to reevaluate that, tomorrow and kind of see where things. Obviously, Jay Wall's been with them, and we'll have to kind of just let it play out and see what's going on.
You came out at halftime with a lot of energy. I think took a 41-38 lead right after the Sean dunk, and then I think they had an 8-0 run, and you never got back into it. What happened down the stretch there for them to be able to put the game away?
Yeah, I think they just answered. Quite honestly, they just answered and made the plays that they needed to make. Got a couple of clean looks, the threes that they got. We've got to guard it better, and we didn't. Their two best players were open way too much, and made key plays for them. One was a step back, so maybe you can live with that one, but we've been better at guarding the three than we were tonight, and we weren't tonight. And we let the rollers get behind us too many times. We kept getting caught in the paint, and then all of a sudden the shooter's open on the wing. It was disjointed. We just weren't executing, quite honestly.
What do they do defensively? Because you mentioned about maybe at times the offense overpass. What do they do defensively to kind of get you uncomfortable or get the team uncomfortable offensively too?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it's uncomfortable. It's just like, we were too slow into our offense initially. you know, in the first half, and you know, any kind of dead ball, you know, they were pressing up a little bit, excuse me, and then they were taking a little bit of our clock, and then, you know, you end up, you know, with less time, you know, at that point, and then we weren't snappy and into it. We were a little bit better in the second half of getting to it, and then they went to the zone. We wasted probably 2 possessions against the zone, and then, you know, ended up, you know, faring pretty well against that eventually, and then, you know, they switch back to their man, and you know, sometimes that can, you know, throw you off a little bit when they go, you know, back and forth like that. But I mean, to me, it was more about, you know, us not getting the stops and then passing up shots, you know, on offense that, you know, we needed. We weren't great, obviously, from the free throw line, you know, tonight, as we typically are. Not horrendous, but you know, we needed every basket we could muster. And, you know, the key was consecutive. You know, like something good would happen, and then all of a sudden we couldn't like back it up with like, you know, we had one little spurt, you know, there at the end, but it just, you know, we couldn't quite get it going.
Oh, 4 players honored for senior night. What was
Yeah.
that ceremony like?
I mean, it's great. Yeah, I mean, it's great. Senior nights are a lot different nowadays. I'll just be honest with you. They're not, you know, we're appreciative, you know, of all these guys. But Sean was a senior last year at Utah State, so he's been through it. This is Zeb's first time going through it, and obviously Kwani, you know, last year at Cal and now here. So it's all different. And you know, Max, you know, I hate it for him because, you know, Sean had his family there last year, and Kwani, you know, at his graduation last year from Cal Berkeley, they were all there, and so like that was a big deal. And then, you know, Max's situation is heartbreaking, you know, for him to not have, you know, his family here. So he had one of his teammates from Utah State come, and then Coach Hart, you know, walked out with him. You know, Max is obviously, this is his family here, stateside. But it just, you know, breaks your heart that he hasn't seen his family in over 2+ years now, and that's a hard deal. But they watch all the games; they're able to see them online, and they're proud of him.
Joe said he's sure he's coming back. Zeb said
Yeah.
he's still considering. Do you have any indication from Max about where he's at in that thought process?
Yeah, no, we haven't really talked about it yet. I mean, Max, you know, Max deserves to, you know, do whatever he wants. You know, if he wants to go pro and do that, you know, he certainly can. You know, he's good enough to do that. You know, if he wants to try to play one more year, the biggest thing he's got to do is graduate. You know, and he's close to that. He's got to get to that this summer. But you know, we'll see kind of, you know, where his motivation is, and you know, for some of these kids like COVID, you know, he was a COVID player, you know, and he came in during that weird time. So you stay in college 4 years, and you have that extra year to play like Sean has. You know, it's really just up to him, and our job is to just guide him, you know, and help him, you know, figure out, you know, what his best option is. And you know, there's a lot, and that could take quite a bit of time, or it could be immediate. He may just know, you know. And either way, you know, it's something that you know, we as coaches have to help him through. And but you know, certainly we'd love to have him stay one more year, but at the same time, I'm not him, you know. He's a great player and certainly worthy of playing at the next level. He's not hard to tell. It's just a matter of where, right? You know, what opportunities is he going to get, and that, you know, time will tell on that. You know, that's not an immediate, obvious thing right this second.
Joe talked about how he's never been a part of the program for more than a year. How great will it be to have him at VCU for year 2?
Yeah, I mean, Joe's amazing. We're very fortunate to have him. I wish I'd, you know, been able to coach him at the beginning, you know, of all this. Like, he's a great guy, great player, and fun to be around. You know, we're appreciative of him. You know, he dealt with a hard situation, and you know, you feel for a guy like that's been through, you know, the turnover that he's had to kind of go through, the transitions from Tech to GW to you know, Oklahoma to now here, and I think now he's finally at a place where it's like, okay, this is it. Like, this is what it's supposed to be like, and not knocking anywhere else. It's just like for him, like this is it, and for us, it's great to have him here.
You faced so much adversity with these guys this season, you know, you had the early season stuff. Do you feel like now, as you get ready for this last stretch, this is a team that's as prepared to get over this hurdle as any?
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know. I mean, like tonight, you know, wouldn't give you an indication that we're ready to go win this thing. You know, the way that we play tonight, we can't play like this and expect to win. You know, we're fooling ourselves. Like, we got to play a lot better. And we've got to coach better. We got to play better. We got to play harder. We got to make tougher plays. You know, I told the team after the game, it's not, you know, just because Max was out doesn't mean like we can't win the game. Like, Max is a great player, but you guys are great too. And we've had other guys out and been able to win. You know, Joe and Sean were out for an extended period of time. And you know, Zeb missed games in the middle of the conference, and we were able to win. And so, you know, but what I will tell you is Duquesne is playing well right now. Like, they're playing as well as anyone. That's 9-3. Since starting 0-5, they were picked 4th, right? And so they're a good team. They're a well-coached team. They have very good players. They're very deep. All right, they have, you know, just as many players. All right, certainly. I mean, you look at how many they played. I mean, that's a lot of guys that played. You know, they had 2 guys that played 30 minutes, and then they have a lot of guys that played some minutes. And so they know who they are right now. They're playing good ball, and they're going to certainly, you know, have a chance, you know, to compete for this thing, you know, when it gets to Brooklyn.
During those times that Sean and
Yeah.
Joe were out early on the season, what did that tell you about the resiliency of this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was great. You know, I mean, it was a learning experience for all of them. You know, you think about the times that these guys were able to get out there and play. You know, Michael, you know, got a ton of experience. You know, in that. Had those guys been here, maybe he wouldn't have had some of that experience. You know, Fats, you know, gets in there and is able to play. Jason, you know, was able to assert himself and kind of be a vital part of the team. You know, Max certainly, and Zeb. You know, Zeb first time really starting, you know, and being a key player. You know, has really grown, you know, over the course of the year. You know, I think we do have a resilient group, so I'm not worried about it. But at the same time, you know, we've got to play better than we did tonight if we want to, you know, advance.
That's what.
You guys have slowed down some great players defensively here this season. What was it about Grant tonight that he was able to get a
He was open
26?
too much. Like, I mean, we didn't force him into hard enough shots, you know, and you know, he makes it pull up on Fats. He's good at those, you know. But you know, there's too many times he's just open, you know, out there. And we got to do a better job. We got to be attentive to him, and you know. Clark obviously made some big shots too, you know, some key ones for him, but we guarded him a little bit better probably. But they're moving, you know, Grant around more, right? And he's screening, and then he's coming off of screens, and so we just weren't, you know, tight enough, and you know, not ready to make up for, you know, guys not being there on the catch. You know, sometimes there's emergencies that happen, and we didn't do a good job tonight of putting out those fires and fixing things. Like, when our defense is at its best, it's not perfect, it's we fix things. And tonight we fixed very little. Even in the first half, you know, even though we were only down a few, they had plenty of open shots that just didn't go down. And so we gotta be better.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach.